In the spring of 1945, after their success in the Battle of the Bulge, Allied troops continued racing across Europe to finalize the defeat of Nazi Germany. As they did so, they discovered and liberated numerous Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz in January and Buchenwald in April. Ben Fainer was one of those liberated. Ben was just 9 years old when the German blitzkrieg of September 1939 attacked his home in Bedsin, Poland. Within 2 days, Ben, his mother, father, and siblings, along with 25,000 other Jews from the area, were rounded up and sent to forced labor camps, concentration camps, or death camps. In this first-person flashback, Ben shares his story of surviving 6 years in concentration camps.
My dad and I went on one truck, my mother and 3 siblings, which is my other brother, my two sisters. One of the young, was only 8 days old, was a girl, and they went with my mother. 3 of them went with my mother, and I went with my father. We went to a forced labor camp.
And so you marched to this forced labor camp?
No, we were driven to the forced labor camp.
And when you just say a forced labor camp, let the audience have a sense of what that is. What did you do?
We didn't do too much the first, probably the first few months. They segregated most of the guys where they can use them in different trades. My father was a tailor, his craft was, and they used him for various things to make uniforms. They separated the young guy. I didn't do too much at that time except maybe clean.
Now you were 9 at the time.
I was 9, yes.
But you were big for your age.
I was big.
So
my father was about over 300 pounds, about 6'6", I believe, somewhere in that vicinity.
Oh my goodness, a big man.
So I was a big kid.
And so normally, I guess a 9-year-old boy probably would have gone with his mother.
Mother, I wasn't 9 years old.
You told them you were.
I was 15.
And they believed you because of your size.
They believed him because of my size, yes.
And so because you lied about your age, you ended up with your dad.
I ended up with my dad in the forced labor camp.
And you did not know then where your mother and siblings were sent, but you learned later.
Not for probably for several months that we were told that my mother and siblings went to Auschwitz.
And did you ever see them again?
No.
And so then you spent your time in the war moving in essence from one forced labor camp to another.
Not from one labor camp to concentration camps.
You went from the forced labor camp, which was still in Poland, or were you in?
That was still part of Poland. It was called Yelishnia.
Yelishnia.
Yeah.
And then from there, you marched to the first.
We marched to Blechhamer.
And that was in Germany?
That was in Germany.
So
yes.
A sense of how the distance?
I don't know, maybe 40, 50 miles, we never know the distance. Who cares about the distance? We march, I'm hoping we get there.
And so you spent how long a period of time then at that first concentration camp?
The first concentration camp in Blechhamer, we spent probably better than a year, close to a year and a half probably.
And at that point, were the concentration camps being run by the SS yet, or were they still under
At that time, they were still under the Wehrmacht. If you know what the Wehrmacht is. They were the regular soldiers.
And then during your time there is when that changed?
There was a big change between that when the SS took over and my name was no longer, my Jewish name is Bendit, which is B-E-N-D-E-T, and Fainer, which was F-A-J-N-E-R. So my name was changed to 178873, which I have my number on my hand.
Would you mind sharing?
No.
This happened at that first concentration camp
This
after the SS took
This
over.
happened in Blechhamer.
And so immediately...
I bruised my arm, but you can see part of it. I hit it against the shower the other day.
And I see that. You've got a bit of a bruise here. And I don't know if it's going to be possible. Yes, we can get right there. So when the SS comes in and takes over the camp,
yes,
it becomes much more...
Well, we got our tuxedos, which I'm sure you saw, the blue and white. Okay, there are no more plain clothes, but we've had the plain clothes for God knows how long, and we got our
So
stripes.
At this point, you get into the striped uniform.
Correct.
And you're living in barracks? How would you
We were
describe
living in
the place you're living?
Barracks, just regular barracks.
And I should think of them like the pictures we see from World War II, the
Bunk
wooden bunk beds?
Yes.
The number that you were given,
yes.
In essence, that was just the number they were up to? They just arbitrarily gave you that number and put it on a log book or something?
Yeah, so we put on a log. Right after the guy, they had a bunch of guys, maybe, I don't know, about 20 or 30, that they grab your arm like this, and they had a humongous pen like you have, and they just poked like that in. So it's been there for 100 years. Not quite 100, but you know.
Not quite 100
Yeah.
yet, Ben. Hopefully you'll
Yeah,
be
well,
around.
I intend to keep it for better than 100.
Excellent. So then, what did you end up doing in the camp as your job?
In Blechhamer, I actually didn't do anything except when the guys went out at 3 o'clock in the morning after the count was taken, they went to a factory. I was left behind, and I used to clean the office, you know, and whatever shoes was shine, I shined them equally as good as like my shoes shined. I learned that and cleaned up and everything. So when the guys came back, whatever it was, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, they took me back to the camp, you know, and after they counted everybody, we went to the barracks.
And you did not stay at this camp for the entire war. You then were transferred again.
I beg your pardon?
You were then shifted again to another.
Oh yes, after a while,
camp?
yes, we went to a better hotel, a 5-star.
Yes, you're being
We
very.
went from Blechhamer, we went to Buchenwald.
Buchenwald, which is probably a name that many people are familiar with when they hear about
I'm sure
concentration
they do,
camps.
yeah.
And it's not a 5-star
At
hotel at all.
Buchenwald, you know, well, you know, and Buchenwald, I already went to work. We used to get up 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody was accounted for. Then we marched out and went to the factory. So what they produced, most of the time, I never knew, because we used to shift the stuff around towards the end, whatever the production was. They made parts for trucks, maybe parts for airplanes or whatever. And Buchenwald was very, very tough. Buchenwald was the toughest one of all.
Tell me a little bit about that. When you say tough, give the sense of what.
Well, in the sense it's tough. The wires were higher. They had the big lookout towers with machine guns. And of course, if you marched to work and if you dropped, you got a bullet in your head and kicked off to the side, and the birds used to have a good meal. Buchenwald was horrifying. You marched, you know, and a lot of times people ask you, well, what did you do? Did you have any kind of recreation? I says, yeah. Yeah, the recreation is just, we were alive. That was the recreation that we've had. You never got anything, somebody like maybe radio or something? Who the hell a radio? You gotta be kidding me, you know. I lived in block 15, happened to be, and we had a crematorium right beside me. So, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, what happens if you're sick or something? Was that a hospital? I says, yes. When they were sick and you couldn't make it, I used to see guys shoving the crematorium while they were alive. There was no such a thing as, you know, being sick. Either you make it or you don't. So I'm here to tell you the truth, to tell you this here, and I've mentioned this to quite a few times when I speak to children and grown-ups. Why I'm here today, I've yet to figure out. I had a good God watch over me, and the devil used to push me.
You were not in Buchenwald for the rest of the war.
No, God, no. No, we marched from Buchenwald, we went to Flossenberg.
Flossenberg, and that's
Yes.
another, what, 30, 40 miles?
Somewhere in that vicinity. You know, to the present day, I've never found out the mileage, because I could care less, to be truthful with you. But we marched in hail, rain, or snow, whatever it was, and we spent X amount of, probably almost better than a year in Flossenberg. The most time we spent was in Buchenwald.
And were you in Flossenberg at the time of liberation?
No. We went from Flossenberg, we went to Dachau, and from Dachau, for some ungodly reason, they moved us back around and took us back to Flossenberg. And from Flossenberg, we marched. Where we were going to go, I really don't know, but we were liberated marching from Flossenberg, which is part of Bavaria, and we ended up in Cham, Germany, and that's where I was liberated.
In Cham.
Yes.
And that is April of 45?
April of 23rd of April of 1945 at 10 o'clock in the morning.
After 6 years in forced labor and concentration camps, Mr. Fainer was 15 when liberated. He eventually emigrated to the United States, where he and his wife Susie had 7 children.